Hello everyone, this is Redact and this game is called Suzerain. So I now have suspicions that the Supreme Court are going to try and stab me in the back somehow or try to garner stuff from me. It's not going to happen. I will not be blackmailed or dictated to. I am the president. They can all feck off. So let's resume and see what is going to happen. Right, what overall is happening? Yeah, still oppression. So we're not, hopefully we don't oppress their language, that will go away, or it'll go down to something else, I don't know. Corruption, organised crime, we still need to sort out. Hopefully there'll be an event that will come up. Still building the railway, and now doing the agricultural zone down here. Hopefully that will sort itself out, so let's continue and see what happens. Chapter 2, A New Sordland. Chapter 3, Victim of Changes. Oh no. As long as I'm not the victim, it's going to be fine. I am the president. None shall oppose me. Okay, so I can't see any alerts. Let's see what the news says. Geopolitical. Vaglish man shot after burning Angolan flag. Desert started against the governor who was appointed and continuing without slowing down. To the supported statements by the Chancellor, the Vaglish protesters assembled in front of the governor's office and waved Vagslandian flags. One Vaglish protester was photographed as he climbed the flagpole of the governor's office and brought down the Agnolian flag. He was shot by the Agnolian authorities. When he attempted to burn the flag with gasoline. Protesters claim he was shot in the neck and he killed immediately. While the Agnolian government has not released any statement on the subject. Incident sparked unrest and protests, which turned into riots around the island. Many Vaglish protesters are now calling for Vagsland to save them. Oh, here we go. Chancellor Higa was quick to respond to the incident, saying Vagsland stands together with the people in Helgeland. No regime can murder its citizens because they protested. This conflict continues. Vagsland holds the right to intervene to save her people. Yeah. Okay. World ignores the Bludish plight. Barred from the high-paying jobs, discouraged from attending university, spat on in the streets. Where's the outrage against Sordland's relentless oppression of the Bloods? For decades, Bludish lords are being treated as lesser beings, with the law still allowing rampant discrimination from businesses and educational institutions. We call on the international community to raise awareness of this tragedy so that we can begin promoting equality. We'll see. If they stop protesting, stop being annoying, then maybe I will. What's going on here then? Reported that the village around Suzerain, a group of BFF missionaries are seeking to recruit militants to fight for the BFF. Governor Baron reported that the police forces in the area are now actively working towards eliminating the threat. Good. Don't want any of that. Still around a quarter of the way, still in half. Wait, oh no. Alright, let's see what's going on over here. A call from Marcel Caronti. Okay, he is the... Don't know who he is. Let's see who is he. Business figures, I think, probably. He's the chairman of the conglomerate. Right, he is the guy that we had that agreement with on turn 1, wasn't it? Marcel, yeah, okay, so he wants something. Alright, let's see what he wants. I was in my office looking through the agenda for the upcoming meeting at the Ministry of the Economy. The meeting was going to be about the ownership of the Big Four largest companies in Sordland. Heart of Sordland, Brigade Steel, the Sword Estate Corporation, and the Nidam Mining Group. Some of these companies are controlled in part or entirely by the state. Others are mostly or completely privatized. I had the power to change that. Phone rang and I put the agenda down. I pick up the phone. Greetings, Mr. President. I'm sorry to disturb you before such an important meeting, but I thought now would be a good time to talk about our arrangement. Sure you agree that the support I and my network have given your administration have been nothing but beneficial. Half of the non-state media in the country has been showing positive news about you and downplaying negative events. There's always more you could be doing for us. Yes. We essentially acquired Lutchevin Times and been coordinating media publishing across the three largest broadcasting organisations. Nobody in the entire country is supporting you as much as I am. I hear him knock on wood. On another note, I can't help but mention the tax breaks, Mr. President. They have been extraordinarily beneficial to our quarterly performance. HOS is now operating on a much larger revenue pool. You have strengthened the backbone of the Swordish economy. Not really, because I've got one bar over there. Of course, private corporations had to have a financial leg up to boost investments. Needless to say, I still expect to reinvest any surplus back into the economy to create more jobs, yes. Increasing our investments inside Sordland is a key topic in our board discussions. He paused for a few seconds. Out of goodwill, I will share a key piece of information. The Lotharberg Group has contingency plans if you decide to do anything rash that would disrupt their empires. You can't blame them, can you? Imagine someone to take your authority and personal wealth away without your consent. I don't see why we should be enemies. We will only ask for a reasonable share, nothing out of the ordinary. That is good to hear. If everyone plays their cards right, it will all be fine. Now, let's talk about those cards. Since the start of your campaign, you've adamantly promoted a planned economy. Going by that, I'm worried that you will attempt to nationalise Sordland's largest private corporations. Nationalisation as a concept goes against everything my father built and stood for. If you want to go down this road, I must insist on you excluding Hoss from such a plan. That is my most important request. You may recall that one of the terms of our agreement was that I asked you one favour. Well, this is it. Excluding Hoss. Heart of Sordland, okay. We don't want to. Don't get your knickers in a twist. I was planning on leaving Hoss alone anyway. You've outlived your usefulness to me. You're done for. I understand. I want our partnership to continue uninterrupted. As do I. I always get my end of the bargain, Mr. President. Don't forget. Well, we did have this agreement, so that's fine. I'd rather he didn't ask this, but there was always going to be something that they were going to ask for. It's fine. Better keep yours as well. He cleared his throat. Before we end the call, there's actually one more thing I would like to discuss. I will be blunt. Mr. Tusk is unfit to be the spokesperson for the Lotharberg Group. His archaic thinking has only preserved a status quo that benefits himself and a precious few others. High time something changed. What do you have in mind to replace him then? Who do you think? Me, of course. Here's what I propose, a win-win situation. Use your powers to make Bergier Steel Test's main company state-owned. He would lose considerable influence. Okay, I'm going to write this down. So I do want to nationalise because it will bring more power to the government and therefore me. Or nationalise at least in part. So Bergier Steel. So Hoss. It's the heart. And Bergier Steel. I think he's the guy that tried to bribe me, right? Tusk, you would lose considerable influence, which means I could take over. If I take over with your help, I will be forever indebted to you and support you in all your goals, be it re-election or something more. Oh, yes. How does that sound? I'll have to think about it. Just think about it. That's all I'm asking. Well then, I've taken up enough of your time today. This has been a productive call. Thank you for your time, Mr. President. Thanks, Marcel. Talk to you later. A couple of minutes, I went back to reviewing the agenda. Oh, let's see what I want to do. Protest against emergency. A large group of people protested in the Bristol City Centre and asked for the resignation of the USP government. Protesters turned violent when riot police arrived on scene and were forced to intervene. Small-scale clashes erupted between the group and riot police, but the situation was brought under control and the group has dispersed. I don't think I can keep the state of emergency going because I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court is going to stab me in the back. So I don't want that hanging over me. I want it pretty away. And I don't think it's really benefiting me too much. Border police have reported an increased number of arrests as Belarusian Rezek refugees attempt to enter the country from Finland. Temporary detention centres are being erected to process the deportation of the illegal entrants. Yes. News. Refugees suffer because of rain. There's more and more Bloods and Resexity attempt to flee. But we are seeing the consequences of Anton Rain's inhumane border policy. Turned away from Sordland, families face homelessness, starvation, and persecution. Some head to Lesbia, where they are accepted, but must undergo the country's labyrinthine asylum process. Politicians there are already complaining of a refugee crisis. Rain must act now before more lives are lost. Well, they've got somewhere to go, so what's the problem? I don't think I have to deal with it, do I? No. Right, read the report. USP meeting shows support to President. In yesterday's internal USP meeting, a large group of party members voiced their support for the President after the Supreme Court took the case to review the legality of the emergency. Vice President Peter criticised the Supreme Court for obstructing the duties of the administration. Quite right. Law enforcement ignores the emergency rules. There are countless reports coming in around the country that the law enforcement authorities are not properly enforcing the rules defined in the emergency decree. Also increasing in number right after the Chief Justice announced the court were taking Richter's case to review the constantiality of the decree. Okay, that's another reason why we should stop that. General Staff released positive statement. Earlier this week, General Staff held a meeting with Joseph Lancier, voiced his pleasure to work under the administration. According to rumours, Lancier said the current president is a man of tradition. He is strong and he is decisive. Exactly. I worked with President Sol before. I know President Sol, he's my friend. I know he's proud of what President Anton has achieved. Exactly. Everyone should be proud of what I have achieved. Marcel told me that he wants to topple Walter Tusk. Okay, well, we're friends with him. Let's request his meeting. Okay, let's go. Lucien scheduled some time with me to discuss the potential political repercussions of the upcoming economy meeting. He arrived on time as usual and took his seat right across from me. Good morning, Mr. President. Lucien had dark circles below his eyes. The plethora of political developments must have been weighing even on a workaholic like him. You look a bit tired. Are you getting enough sleep? I'm trying to, sir. Don't push yourself too much. I will try not to. I must say you don't look much better. I looked at myself in a small hand mirror. Similar circles were beneath my eyes as well. Book some of your time to pre-plan for today's meeting at the Ministry of Economy. Give you a short status update. As you know, I've been lobbying the old guard extensively after the constitutional review process began to ensure we don't end up in a weakened position. My efforts to ensure a court rejection for the legal arguments put forward by Mr. Richter are continuing. A very important piece in succeeding will be this upcoming economy meeting. Well known that the old guard wants many of these large companies to be nationalised. If we do that, our chances of the court rejecting Mr. Richter will increase. I don't really want the old guard to decide the future in any way. I will think about it. Very well. We need to be cautious. Any grand plans about the economy also heavily influence our political standing. We're changing our relationship with the old guard, the oligarchs and the opposition. As you know, this meeting will give you the opportunity to alter the ownership of the Big Four, largest corporations in all of Sordland. We can start the process of nationalisation or privatisation, or we just keep the status quo. Again, I remind you that any change will tip an already fragile balance. I personally think we should stay out of this and keep things as they are. There's no need to make new political enemies at this stage in our term, but ultimately the decision is yours. What are you leaning towards? How should we move forward? We will nationalise these companies. Our ministry will avoid upsetting the economic structure and maintain the status quo. We will privatise these companies. I think we will try and keep it as it is, though we will probably privatise Bergier Steel, just so the oligarchs aren't a problem. And we can get past the Supreme Court because they want some nationalisation. So we're probably... What is your intention? The court needs to pass that review for us to continue uninterrupted. The decree must be deemed constitutional, otherwise we are weakened. I cannot allow a major part of the country to run without my input as president. The oligarchs must submit to me. Truth be told, I don't care what anyone else thinks or says. Yeah, I need ultimate power. So that the more control we have, the better. Administration still bears responsibility. We let the oligarchs determine the course of the country. One thing to remember is that since you're being transparent about promoting a planned economy, nationalisation will not cost us much support. You could note in his notebook. I received a report from the Ministry of Economy that may impact your decision. Fortunately, we missed our government budget targets for the current quarter. Plan to change the ownership of important assets could help us generate much needed resources, further improve economic development before the next election. Just something to consider, as is our relationship with the oligarchs. We might be aiming for nationalisation, but we need to remember that they only care about their own profits. Fortunately, we are on good terms with them. This situation has been instructing some of our efforts in the economic recovery. If our nationalisation plan hurts their assets too much, we may end up in a war with the men who control much of the economy. The oligarchs must be destroyed. Seizing their assets is the way to go. We nationalise only part of the companies, perhaps we can avoid a confrontation. Yeah, I'm thinking, do we nationalise a little bit and just placate the Supreme Court? But I don't really care about the oligarchs, other than that guy that we have a deal with. If we just nationalise, they won't have anything to threaten us with. Yeah, get rid of one enemy and then we can concentrate on the Supreme Court. Oligarchs must be destroyed. The only way to avoid getting damaged by such dramatic action is a swift surprise takeover. Some of my connections indicate there seems to be a contest for leadership in the Lofferberg group. It looks like Marcel Conronti is making a move to become the key figure. Conronti probably wants his father's seat as the head of the group and Tusk doesn't want to let it go of it. Significant power struggle considering these are the two heads of the two largest private oil corporations. As we're going down the path of nationalisation, we will have to tip the balance towards either side, yes. Since you already made this decision to nationalise, you need to be decisive in your follow-up actions. Did Marcel or Tusk contact you? I received a call from Marcel. What did he ask for? Don't worry, I have it under control. As President, if you're not transparent with me, I can't help you to the best of my ability. Very well, sir, I won't push you any further. Anyway, this internal conflict among the oligarchs puts us in an interesting position. The relationship with Walter hasn't been good so far. Any move we make now has to be calculated and thought through. Lucien looked at his watch. Very well then, it's almost time. I will inform Mr. Hollivar your decision, and he will make the necessary preparations to formulate a plan. Must get back to work now. See you at the next meeting. Thank you for your time, sir. Lucien got up from a chair and left the office. Alright. So we should get some money. Order. Oh, we got rid of something. Nationwide protests quelled. Enlarged police force. Wide range and security powers. Corruption tackled. Thanks to successful anti-corruption policies, the illegal behaviour has been largely reduced. Streamlined immigration. Inexperienced police recruits, but they get experienced, I guess. Organised crime we still need to deal with. Oppression. Yeah, okay. What's going on in the news? Tension keep rising in the Marking Sea. According to the reports, the fleet has been patrolling the Marking Sea was directly responsible for the disappearance of two fishing vessels, a drilling ship and an oil tanker that belonged to Agnolia. Prime Minister Van Horten called the Alliance of Nations to investigate the incidents. Chancellor is trying to imprison us in our home with his show of strength. But he should know that Agnolians are not scared. We're ready to fight for our home. Alright. I think it's just the economy meeting then, is it? What's going on here? Yeah, so there's increased military stuff going on. That's fine. Ownership of changes. Let's do it. Lucien and I arrived at the Ministry of the Economy. Citizens took our coats and showed us to the meeting room where Simon, Edith, Gus and Mikhail were waiting. As soon as I entered, the chatter stopped and they stood up. After a few pleasantries, everyone but Simon took their seats. He opened his briefcase, produced a folder and proceeded to go over some of the documents. Greetings everyone, welcome to the Ministry of the Economy. Without further ado, here today to discuss our economic move towards nationalisation. Both Mikhail, who's Mikhail? Chairman of the NBC, and Edith, chairman of the CBS. Right. They were listening intently. Mr. President. Before you arrived, certain individuals in this room were voicing their opinion against the nationalization plan. As I understand it, your decision has already been made. Which certain individuals were those? Me and Edith, Mr. President. I'm very much against the nationalization plan. And why is that? Simple, really. Nationalization would provide an improvement in terms of our economic development in the next year or two. In the long term, you're losing people's trust. Without trust, there can be little trade, especially if the government excessively nationalizes entire industries. Besides, it would cost a proportional amount of government budget to nationalize. Are you saying the state of Sordland is untrustworthy? No, of course it is trustworthy. That is not my point. Miss Agnot, don't forget with whom you are speaking. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, shall we? Mr. Hull, please continue. Let's move on how we go about implementing a nationalization plan. Mr. President, he handed me and everyone else in the room 2 neat stacks of documents. Please turn to page 14. Turn to page 14. The title was Heart of Sordland. As you can see in this document, the first corporation up to discussion is Heart of Sordland. Led by fledgling CEO Marcel, Haas has recently observed a boost in their revenue. They control many organisations across Sordland. Possible to see their imprint everywhere from newspaper stands to convenience stores. In fact, they own more than half the media products in the country. We all know how much of an effect media has on politics. That is the reason I think if we were to nationalise any corporation, Haas should be our target. No, sorry, it's not happening. I must add that I am myself against fully nationalising any of these companies in principle. However, we could partially move the ownership of Haas to the state, gaining access to their income to help end the recession and provide for our citizens. I am inclined to agree with you from a political perspective, however. We are going to nationalise Haas. I think we should go all the way and fully move it to ownership to the state. What would the effects be if we fully nationalise? It would be disastrous is what it would be. Thousands of assets belonging to Marcel would now come belong to the state. They would scare off many investors and most likely stop new money from coming in. I'm against fully nationalising any company, but if you insist on nationalising something regardless, I would pick Haas. Why is that? Marcel is growing too powerful too fast. Next thing you know, you could even have control over the state newspapers. Okay, I'm not going to nationalise it. Let's move on to our next option. 37. Bergier Steel. Largest private corporation in the Big Four and therefore the largest in Sordland. It's been in the helm of steel manufacturing for many years. Led by current CEO and Lofferberg spokesperson Walter Tusk. If all of us are familiar with him in one way or another. What can I say? They've been widely successful since their founding. They've achieved renown not only in Sordland but worldwide. I believe we shouldn't attempt to break anything that is already working. I'm against the nationalisation of Bergier Steel in any capacity. Not to mention, any amount of nationalisation would be disastrous for both Bergier Steel and Sordland. Many of our steel traders rely on their manufacturing capabilities. Any sudden change would be like throwing a screwdriver in the working engine. No matter what, we should refrain from nationalising them. It could solve an economic crisis. I don't have so strong an opinion, but I will say that nationalising both Bergier Steel and Haas would be quite unwise. What would happen if we did? Where do I start? Quite literally the backbone of Sordland's private economy. If you do this, you will anger many powerful people. Trust me, you don't want that. Let them go. I don't know what to say. You are right. I don't want any more enemies. I understand the predicament, but it is necessary. Is that a threat? Is it a threat? No, Mr. It is a fact. What are your thoughts on the minority share? As mentioned, I'm against making changes to Bergier Steel's ownership. We should leave the company as it is. I tend to agree, but only because Haas is the weaker of the two. It's less risky to deal with them as opposed to a giant like Bergier Steel. What would be the outcome of taking a majority share? This is of course a better option than full nationalisation, but that doesn't mean you will not face adversity. Minority share means Bergier Steel would experience a massive drop in status. That would surely anger a man like Walter Tusk. If I may make an understatement, he's not a forgiving man. Yeah, that day comes. Walter Tusk will also learn Anton Main is also not a forgiving man. As you say. I'm ready to make a decision. Sounds good. Let's go to the document once again then. I read all of Simon's documents once more, then flip to the last page. Wow, okay. I thought we were doing the big four. It's only two that we're doing? Companies listed below represent the two largest private corporations which play a key role in several strategic industries. Nationalizing by buying a minority stake, a majority stake, or acquiring them entirely for state affairs. HOS is the multi-industry corporation with tens of millions of SR involved in the media industry through the ownership of Sordland Today and the Sordis Broadcasting Corporation. Bigger Steel is the largest steel manufacturer in Sordland. It operates mainly in the biggest region and works in steel construction projects. Autotus owns a majority stake in the corporation. Majority, fully state-owned. Yeah, we're going to take it all. I don't want him to have any power. We're going to take it all. He's going to be our friend and he's going to owe us a favour. Yes. Completely opposite to what my advisors have told me to do. But I'm the president. Done. You're about to make changes to the ownership of prominent companies in Sordland. Are you sure? Yes. I signed the document altering the ownership of the Big Four with a flourish. Simon leaned back in his chair. So, this is the path we are taking. This is absolutely ridiculous. Simon, please tell me you are not fine with this. Please tell me, President, you did not just sign this order. You just did, Mr. Arvin. There's nothing you can do about it. Mikhail turned to me, his eyes open. Rage. He was clenching his fist so hard that his hands turned red from the exertion. He must be under the cosh of task. What? What have you done? You... Mikhail, don't, please. You're making a great mistake, Mr. President. You have made your preference for Heart of Sordland and media conglomerate over Burger Steel very clear. BS is a company that has spent decades defining steel manufacturing in this country. So, I'm sorry, no matter what I do, I can't understand your reasoning. Don't have to. It's okay, you don't have to. Just have to accept it. Yeah, I don't have to explain myself. I see. It was Coroni, wasn't it? So he bought you. Mr. Avon, I want you to think very carefully about what you're going to say next. I'm not going to say anything. We are done here. Come, Edith. We must report the outcome of this meeting. I'm not going anywhere. Mikhail turned to Edith with a sour face. His eyes were shooting daggers. Suit yourself. And Mr. President. Mr. Tusk will hear about this. You can rest assured. Yeah, well, he doesn't own his company anymore. Picked up his bag and started making his way to the entrance. Lucian got up from his seat and intercepted him on the way out. He put his hand on Mikhail's shoulder and they spoke with a calm and soft voice. I'll be watching you. Mikhail didn't respond, he simply left. Edith leaned forward to get closer to my ear. Mr. President, I've had my fair share of experience. I understand when the cards are stacked against me. I want to assure you will find an ally in me. Okay, maybe we can bump that other guy and get Edith in charge of whatever this thing is, the chairman. Oh, the chairman of the CBS. Yeah, she's already pretty important. Sounds wonderful. I'm looking forward to working with you. It's great to hear. I must leave now as well. That will be it for today then. I know everyone has busy schedules. Thank you all for coming. Good work, everyone. Good work, everyone. Yeah, indeed. I put the documents in my suitcase and left the room with Lucian. Yes. How angry. Oh no, mine's too. Oh no. Okay, well, it's fine. It's fine. So what's coming up next? Unified Education Language Act and the results of the economic direction. Okay, that's fine. So we will do that next time. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again in the next episode. Take care, everyone.